What's up, gang, and welcome back to my channel. So I figured since today was beautiful, it is absolutely gorgeous outside, that I would do my last Dahmer episode review outside today. So what we're going to be doing today is discussing episode 10. I might have, like I said, starting with my reviews, y'all, I'm gonna have some camera issues because I am recording from my phone, so let's get that out the way. But I will upgrade as time progresses because I enjoy doing this. I enjoy watching other YouTubers that do this. Stephanie Sue is my favorite. Kendall Ray is my favorite. Christina Randall is my favorite. Kimberlea is my absolute favorite. And it's so many more that I can't even name right now. But I just love true crime, book reviews, movie reviews, all of it. So I'm gonna be doing a little bit of all of it. So let's get into episode 10. Okay, so the first scene we go into is there is a little boy who is I'm assuming like doing a delivery or something, and he goes into the house to speed things up. He is obviously tricked into this psycho fucking house. Okay, so he's tricked into the house. He goes into the house and he's knocked across the head. He's drugged, blah blah blah. We don't know who this person is or even who this kid is at this moment, but we learned that this is another serial killer in Chicago, Illinois in 1971 by the name of John Wayne Gacy. He was committing these acts very similar to what Dahmer was doing, except the cannibalism part, simultaneously around the same time that Dahmer was doing it. So Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy was often compared a lot. Okay, so it is 1977 in Chicago, Illinois, and we go into a scene where obviously there's a child or a younger male, and he's going into the house of an older male, and we don't know who this is at the time. We think we're going back into another Dahmer scene, like, you know, they're always going back and forth in time, so we think that we're going back into another Dahmer scene, but eventually we learned that it's not Dahmer. Okay, this is a man by the name of John Wayne Gacy. The little kid went into the house reeked. It smelled fucking terribly. The man fixed him a drink and the guy is passed out. Sounds familiar, right? Remind you, this is in Illinois in 1977, so simultaneously Dahmer is somewhere committing the same type of crimes, but this is John Wayne Gacy. So this scene was just to introduce lightly another serial killer. But then we go back to Jeff, and he is in prison at the time, and he is cocky. He is literally taunting people. An inmate goes to sit down, and Jeff has a lunch tray right there, and the inmate sits on the lunch tray, and Jeff literally laughs, like, and the inmate is obviously bothered. Like, Jeff is just bothering people. So another inmate who is also doing time, I'm not really sure what he was doing time for, but it's obvious that he's bothered by what Dahmer is doing. Then we learned that this inmate is a high profile inmate, meaning he's dangerous. He's extremely dangerous, and I don't think he was getting out anytime soon. So he becomes fixated on Jeff, because he does confront Jeffrey, and he tells him, like, I'm a Christian man and your behaviors are bothering the fuck out of me. So Jeffrey, you know, he pulls the little innocent move that he tries or whatever. So now the inmate is intrigued. He want to know what Jeffrey did, why he's even arrested. But this inmate is so dangerous and labeled dangerous that he's restricted from certain media files. Certain things they won't let him find out because they know that it will trigger him. But he convinces the librarian to give him the information and news articles on Jeffrey Dahmer. He finds out what Jeffrey did, and he is immediately, this is where we kind of see why he was high profile. This is where we learn why certain media is restricted from this inmate. He is enraged. He's triggered. Something has to be done about the way what Jeffrey Dahmer did was fucking terrible. We can all agree to that. But to come to prison and have no remorse and still taunt people, especially black people, when most of the people you killed were black, bothered this inmate. So he took matters into his own hands. Jeff is watching about the John Wayne Gacy case after he is arrested, and learned that John Wayne Gacy was executed. The death penalty wasn't a thing in Wisconsin, which is why Jeffrey never got it. If he was in Illinois, he probably would have got the death sentence too. But he was in Wisconsin, where the death sentence was prohibited. So that's what spared Jeff. So it kind of led him to religion. And he went to a priest and told the priest that he wanted to be baptized. He wanted to repent. He wanted to go to heaven, basically. Go into a scene where Jeffrey is talking to the preacher, and I won't get into religion because it's an everlasting conversation. It's so controversial that I will have thousands of comments, and I can go on for days and days and weeks and months talking about religion. But I will say that I didn't agree with anything that the preacher said. None of the advice he gave Jeff, I don't agree with anything. None of that. I'm sorry. I just insert a short clip about Glenda and how she goes to church. It's obviously that she doesn't go every Sunday as she should, because she is a Christian. But she goes this Sunday and have a talk with her preacher after the service, because she cannot forgive Jeffrey Dahmer. The word was about forgiveness, and she can't forgive Jeffrey. She wants revenge. She wants something to happen to this man. And that just comes to show he never touched her. He never killed, somebody she loved. But young kids, young men, mostly black, predominantly black, were dying around her, and she saw it, and she tried to, and nothing happened, and this man got away with this for years. So it bothered her. It was killing her. Okay, inside. So back to prison. Jeffrey gets a visit from his father. One thing good I can say about Jeffrey's dad, because it's not really a lot of good things I can say, is that he was he didn't really give up on Jeff. Now, he could have parented him, I guess I could say, a whole lot different, and maybe Jeff wouldn't have turned out the way that he did, especially when his father, when Jeffrey was younger and his father was younger. He walked out on them a lot. He wasn't around as much as he should have been. Jeff had 3 months when he was 17, 18, living by himself. His father was nowhere to be found. Nobody even knew he was living alone. So it's a lot of different things his father could have done, but one thing he didn't do was give up on Jeffrey, even with the terrible things that Jeffrey did. And I think deep down it was because his father knew that the way Jeffrey acted was partially his fault. He blamed it on the mother and all the pills she was taking, but he kind of introduced him to that stuff. I'm going to do another video where we'll be talking about the entire series as a movie as a whole, and we'll talk about stuff like that. But right now we're just going to talk about episode 10. Okay, so then we go into another scene where it's kind of ironic how the way that the world works and timing, and there's a solar eclipse that year. If you don't know what a solar eclipse is, it is a moment in time, a brief moment in time, where the moon and the sun kind of overlap and it gets really dark for just a split second. Okay, and it's very rare. So John Wayne Gacy is being executed at the time of the solar eclipse, while Jeffrey Dahmer is being baptized. All of this is happening at the same time. How fucking coincidental. So we go into a scene where the inmate that is bothered by Jeff's behavior is in his cell, and he's praying. He is clutching the cross around his neck. He's shaking. He's crying. He is obviously having a mental break, and he's asking God, what should I do? This man cannot get away with this. There's no way that the same God that I worship allowed this man to get away with it and accepted him, because he had just got baptized. So the man is like, it's no way. You forgave this man for what he did. The same God that So he is stuck with a decision to make. Okay, so Jeffrey is reading the Bible. He's laying in his cell. It's obvious that Jeff is isolated because he's in a cell by himself. He's reading the Bible, like I said. He's interrupted, and he is called for work duty, which is something you can do in prison to, make the time go by faster. You can work for 10 cents an hour, literally, no exaggeration. That's literally how much they work for in prison. So Jeff is called for work duty, and he goes into, I think it's like a gym, maybe like a fitness center type thing, with the locker room in the back, and him and another cellmate goes to clean up. So they get told, those two cellmates, they get told that someone else is going to be helping them. It's the man that's bothered by Jeff. He's seriously bothered by Jeff. He is about to help them on work release and work duty, and Jeff is obviously scared. He's obviously scared. So the correction officer leaves them in the room to clean up, and Jeff's friend Jesse goes into like the locker room. Now Jesse is a murderer too. He killed his whole entire family. He goes into a back room, and the black man goes into the room to supposedly help him, and next thing you know, we hear the man screaming. Jesse is screaming. He's obviously dead, because he screams, he grunts, there's a thud, and then the murderer comes back with blood and a weight in his hand. So he obviously killed him, and he's telling Jeff like he killed his whole family. So he gives Jeff this little speech about forgiveness and how God sent him to do his work because he couldn't do it himself. Which, I mean, if I did believe in God, I would believe that. I'm not even gonna hold y'all. It got hot. It's pretty, but it got hot. So anyways, let's continue where we left off. So anyways, this man starts asking Jeff about the things that he did, and Jeff is nonchalantly answering him. So to make a long story short and less gruesome, the man beats Jeffrey to death, and that is where Jeffrey is pronounced dead. That's right. That was officially the end of Jeffrey Dahmer. Wait, not officially though. So the father gets a call, and he has to identify the body. He identifies it positively or whatever. So come to find out, Jeff's brain is in Maine because they want to study his brain, but they need permission from his mother and father, who absolutely hate each other, so they take it to court. The father wants to destroy the brain because he said Jeff wrote a will, and that was in his will. Jeffrey knew he was going to die. So anyway, the mother wants to study the brain and figure out why her son was the way he was. But anyway, when it all comes down to it, since Jeffrey had that will written, the choice was made to destroy Jeffrey Dahmer's brain and not really test it to see what was really wrong, which I feel like they should have done in the first place. But that is officially the end of Jeffrey Dahmer. That park that Glenda was trying to get made on the lot, the park that Glenda was trying to get made was never built. It was never built. She begged and begged and begged, and the park was never built. That is the end of our 10 days of Jeffrey Dahmer. So our next video, I will do one more, and it will be one where we talk about all the episodes. We talk about Jeffrey Dahmer as a person, not just a movie, but we talk about real victims, and we talk about the real Jeffrey Dahmer, and things that they didn't include in the movie, things that they over-exaggerated in the movie. And thank you for tuning in to my 10 days of Dahmer. That is the end. So the park that Glenda was trying to get made was never built. It was never built. She begged and begged and begged, and the park was never built. That is the end of our 10 days of Jeffrey Dahmer. So our next video, I will do one more, and it will be one where we talk about all the episodes. We talk about Jeffrey Dahmer as a person, not just a movie, but we talk about real victims, and we talk about the real Jeffrey Dahmer, and things that they didn't include in the movie, things that they over-exaggerated in the movie. And thank you for tuning in to my 10 days of Dahmer. That is the end. So I did want to insert this little clip at the end because I did have a question, and we'll get to it in my next video. But I'm wondering if anybody was wondering the same thing after I saw the 10 episodes. Whatever happened to Richard, Jeffrey's brother? Like, did he know that his brother was a serial killer? Did he know that his mom was messed up? Did he know that his dad was messed up? Like, whatever happened with him? What the fuck happened to Richard? Anyways, we'll see in our next video.